Splatoon Raiders is much better than expected. It is easily one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch 2, and it's also my favorite game of 2026 so far. There are so many things that I want to say about Splatoon Raiders that caught me off guard, that I expected, what it does, just the game, the vibe. This is easily one of the best looter shooters, third-person shooters that I've ever played, and I am shocked at how much depth that I continue to uncover every time I peel back a new secret or dungeon or raid or weapon or upgrading or everything. This is the Splatoon game for players who want to, I would say, experience the Splatoon gameplay when it comes to like the inklings and the shooting and the ink and the paint and the single player experience and the multiplayer experience and the salmon run experience, kind of like all put together. It combines elements of everything into a super game that you just can't put down. But before we continue, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 at 140,000 subscribers or on September 1st, whichever comes first. Subscribe, like, comment. The winner will be chosen at random, and it's a worldwide giveaway. Thanks, peeps. So I'm not going to bore you guys with a recap of the story, because there's not really too much, although it does get crazy with the lore. So if you love Splatoon lore and history and backstory, I do think that the characters here, between Shiver, Fry, and Big Man, plus where they're going, the Salmonids, all that stuff is actually pretty cool, and I dig the vibes. I dig what they're going for. I like the relics and stuff that you get when it comes to the scrolls and all of the history and just little things here and there. I mean, you're going on a treasure hunt, your helicopter goes down, and you have to build yourself up as you loot this place bare when it comes to the treasure on the island. And as you collect more treasure, you learn more about the backstory of the island, you learn more about the characters, you learn more about their bonds, and it's just great. It's just great so far. It's never too much, although there is some talking, but then again, it's not too less. After certain story elements, they'll discuss different parts, so I'm having a blast with the story. It's just enough to keep me interested, but then again, not too much to get in the way of what's important, and that's the gameplay. Now, the gameplay here is like, I would say, a blast of various different aspects from Splatoon history. If you play the single player game in Splatoon titles, if you play Salmon Run, if you've played the DLC expansions, Octo expansion, Side Order, it takes every single aspect that they've learned over the last 11 years plus of making Splatoon and puts it all into one super game, like I said, and it creates the most exquisite experience that I have had with a Splatoon title playing. I think I like this more than the PvP, than Side Order, the DLC, Octo expansion, single player campaigns. Everything, for me at least, just vibes. And I probably think because this is a super progression based gameplay, you're constantly getting new weapons, you're constantly getting new upgrades, you're leveling up, and I'm an RPG guy. We've talked, at least more like my stream, we've talked about how Splatoon, it'd be kind of cool if it was more of an RPG. Then we got Side Order, and it was kind of like that, but it was also a rogue mode, and kind of small because it was just a Side Order, it was just smaller DLC. But they really put together so many aspects of this, and it's a true and action third-person RPG game. Like, that's what Splatoon Raiders is, and it benefits greatly from that. I love the variety of weapons over the course of the Splatoon series. They've added in different things, like you just have just so many different types of weapons in this game, from the Sprabrellas to the katanas, you have the Gatling guns, you just have so much stuff. But for me, it's the slosher. You're gonna see a lot of slosher gameplay in here, like it's like a bucket, and you're just like pouring the bucket on people. It's so much fun to kind of go through and do that. You just have the dualies, you have all sorts of stuff, and they all have the mechanics from Splatoon 3 or from Splatoon the previous games. So if you know how to do different techniques in there when it comes to Splatoon 3, it does transfer over here to this game. And that's probably its biggest gameplay strength, is that the gameplay is so fast and it's so fluid and it's so fine-tuned from them tuning things up from Splatoon 3 for years now. They just put that all in there in this game from the very beginning and then enhance it with all sorts of cool stuff. to me, the gadgets are such a dope addition to the Splatoon thing, because no longer does I would say, like, the outfits, those don't do anything anymore. In Splatoon games, normal ones, when you're playing PvP, the outfits will give you your abilities and stuff, but now it's like classes. You have the speed tank, you have the power tank, and you have the technical tank, and they all have different abilities too that you can equip, but you can also make new abilities as well, or new things that you can do, and they have cooldowns on those, and it's all about having the right gadget, the right ability, the right thing tied to what you need to do, and using that to the best of your ability, especially when you're playing on the hardest difficulty, survivalist. Now, you don't have to play on that. You can play on tourist, you can play on the normal mode, you can play on the hardest mode, but for me, I wanted to test the limits of what this game is. I wanted to see all of the depth that it had to offer to truly get what the developers were going for, and I think that the survivalist difficulty absolutely does that. So I'm constantly having to upgrade. I'm failing raids. I'm having to really explore how good I am in this game and test my reflexes, especially with the sub-level ones. Like when you go into those sub-level ones, those are difficult. So you really have to make sure that you're on your game, and I love it. I love that. And even if you fail, you still get your upgrades, you can still get your experience, you still get whatever weapons you collected, so you can consistently get better without feeling like you're stuck when it comes to like a certain level or something, or you can leave and come back later. So the gameplay in Splatoon, to me, it's the most refined, it's the most in-depth when it comes to a single player experience with Splatoon. It's probably the sleekest gameplay that I've seen so far from these developers with Splatoon in this type of way, so I can't say enough great things about this game, and I love what they've done gameplay-wise with the multiplayer. A lot of other looter shooters or third-person shooters that have online play, they waste your time. You're going to be sitting there in lobbies all day to play multiplayer, or it's going to be like a PvP thing, and that's fine. You can do that. That's fine. It works. Borderlands or Destiny, they have like MMO elements or always online stuff with some of them, and that's completely fine. But for me, this game actually fits my style more. Hey, if I need help real quick, I can play multiplayer real quick. I can jump into somebody else's game and help them, or I can call them to come help me in my game. It's a one-time thing. They jump in, they help, we either complete the raid or we don't, and then they go back out. And I don't have to be tied to them the whole time. Now, if you want to create a lobby and go in there and play, or go to your friends, you can do that, and you can play through the whole campaign. But it's segmented in a way that's not intrusive. It's a single-player game first and foremost, and then if you want to do multiplayer, it's there for you. And to me, that is a much better way than really tying on a bunch of multiplayer stuff to where you feel like you have to go to some like hub world where everybody's like dancing and doing all sorts of weird stuff all the time or whatever in a single player style of game, or they're trying to just force feed multiplayer aspects or stuff in there. Splatoon has that in the regular PvP games. They have like the Inkopolis and all that. But for me, in a single player RPG like this, how they've incorporated cooperative multiplayer is significantly better than what I've played in other games like Destiny or other games like Borderlands, for example, to where it's just really obtrusive at times and they're just going to be there the whole time. Then if you want to leave, you got to get out, and it just doesn't take too long, but it's just not, as I would say, intuitive when it comes to call for help or going to somebody else's game and helping them out. The missions are fast and fluid. Everything just doesn't waste your time. So that's what I love about it. And the difficulty helps too. The spicy raids, survivalist difficulty, all the crazy stuff that's happening. It almost feels like it's an overload on the screen. You have so many enemies coming at you and everything. One of the things that I saw people talk about with this game beforehand was it's not using the Nintendo Switch's 2 power. It doesn't look as good. This could have ran on Switch 1, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Now that the game is actually here and people are seeing the amount of craziness, destruction, and even visuals that it has, it does look better than Splatoon 3. It looks better than Splatoon 2. The paint has a bit more texture and depth to it. The characters are more detailed. The environments are more detailed. I'm not saying that it's a massive bump over what we got with Splatoon 3. It's the same art style, obviously same engine and everything, but it does use the Switch 2's power. And I would say that there's no way that the Switch 1 would be able to hold a 60 FPS frame rate along with all the stuff that's happening on screen. I think the Switch 1 would have some issues rendering all of that, and that's one of the reasons why they said the game was on Switch 2 only. They wanted to use that hardware power and get something kind of out in a timely fashion and explore what they've done with a different type of Splatoon game. They actually talked about that in a developer interview recently released. So for me at least, it fits everything that I want out of a game. I'm not the biggest PvP and online multiplayer guy, but it really fits what I want at the time when it comes to multiplayer and a single player campaign. But there is still going to be Splatoon 4. There's still going to be the PvP and all of that in the future, and I'm down. I'm going to definitely play that. But for right now, at this point, after 3 straight Splatoon games with some smaller DLCs, but it's great to get a real single player focused, but with some multiplayer Splatoon game that you can play and enjoy. So I really love what they've done here with the gameplay. Presentation and music, like I said, super nice with the presentation. Graphics look good. The area that you have, like your little hideout and all that, that you can build up, you can upgrade, you can do all sorts of things with that. You can upgrade everything, it seems like this, when it comes down to it. You can create new gadgets to use, you can create weapon upgrades, you can just do so much stuff with this, and I want you guys to experience it. I don't want to go over everything with this, but trust me, you're going to be constantly getting new things, upgrading, trying out new missions, doing all sorts of stuff, doing some platforming challenges, doing special levels. It is just a presentation masterclass, in my opinion. Now, some people have talked about the music not being so good, and I can understand that. Some of the music is kind of dinky, but it does kind of pick up, especially with boss battles and all that. So I felt that it was okay. Half the time, though, I'm just worried about surviving and making sure that I don't get jacked up in all of these levels. Now, so far, content-wise, I'm a number of hours in, and based off of the replay value and kind of grinding and the amount of unlocks, it definitely seems like this game is going to be quite the value and content proposition so far. Now, some people have already blitzed through everything, but from what I understand, there is a really strong end game where there's a ton of stuff to do. So content value wise, if you got this for $50 digital on the eShop, or if you got it for the pre-order price, the $50 physical, whether that was at Walmart or at Amazon, this is a true value proposition for content. You're gonna get a lot of gameplay out of this, and I pretty much love everything about Splatoon Raiders. The only thing that I could possibly say with Splatoon Raiders that's maybe not quite as great is maybe as some of that original music at the beginning, it's not as intense when it comes to what you'd expect with Splatoon 3, or maybe as varied sometimes. So there is that with the game. I also think that there might be some limitations when it comes to like the weapons and kind of what you can do there, although you can upgrade and you can kind of get some stuff there, but there are some limitations with that. But those are pretty much the only things. Outside of those two, Splatoon Raiders is a home run. It is, for me, the best Splatoon game that I've played. I do like the PvP stuff, but this just suits my needs more. And when I beat the game, I'll give you guys my full breakdown of like the score and everything so far. But to me, at least, if you're looking at the Metacritic score right now, and it's funny because I was talking about this on Twitter, but if you look at the Metacritic score right now at the 81, but then you look at the user score, which I never usually take seriously because user scores are weird. People can just, you know, write whatever they want. You don't need to prove that you've played the game or anything. But Splatoon Raiders had no controversy or any weird stuff about it. Now, there are some people trying to review bomb a little bit, but there wasn't any type of widespread controversy before this game released. Like there usually is, like with Nintendo titles, right? There's always some type of, oh, it's a remake, or why does it cost this, or why are they releasing this, or there's no this. But Splatoon Raiders really just was, okay, it's a Splatoon spin-off game, single player experience that you can play with your friends sometimes. There was nothing crazy. So I think that there's actually some genuine and honest reviews on there, and the user score is significantly higher. It's a big gap between the user score and the actual Metacritic score, which I think this is the biggest gap that I've seen when it comes to a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive or a Nintendo first-party game released recently since the Switch 2 came out. Usually it's pretty close, or it's somewhat close, but like this one, there's a whole 1 point gap from the last time that I saw it. It was an 81 to a 91. So I do think that the actual gamers, people playing the game, and based off of what I've seen a lot on Twitter and a lot on social media and what people are just saying, plus my own personal experience, and I think that's the most important thing, is my own experience, that now that I've been playing the game for a number of hours, I absolutely think this game is better than an 8.1 out of 10. I think it's better than an 8 out of 10. I don't know what my score is going to be, but right now it's definitely trending better than an 8 out of 10. Now, will it be an 8.5? Will it be a 9? Will it be higher? Who knows? But I need to get through everything, all the content, experience that, and then I'll give you guys my full opinion and, of course, my full review. But for right now, it is looking incredible. This is right up there with some of the best Nintendo Switch 2 games. Donkey Kong Bonanza. I love Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I think that Pokemon Pocopia is obviously a great one. Mario Kart World, people love and hate that at the same time. I think that there's some awesome games on the Nintendo Switch 2. Star Fox recently launched as well, and I think that Splatoon Raiders is right up there. It's one of the better games on the system, and I'm looking forward to continuing my play of Splatoon Raiders. It's just super addictive. Anytime that I play, I don't want to put it down, and that's the mark of an incredible game, when you just simply don't want to stop playing. But what do you think of Splatoon Raiders so far? Do you plan on picking it up? Have you got it already? I'd love to hear what you think about the game in the comment section below. All right, peeps, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.